Tangsu GPR, sweet and sour chicken. This was one of the first words I learned how to say in Chinese for a couple very important reasons. Well, number one, I was hungry. And there's a special skill in China. You're familiar with chopsticks. So when I stepped off the plane, they took us to a restaurant. And Jeff Etner was there. I've spoken with him this morning, asked if I could share this story. We sat down at a table. Now you have to understand, in China there's a large table and a very large lazy Susan, they call them. You place many dishes on it, it turns around, you share. Okay. So they bring out about 10 or 15 dishes, and one at a time, here and there, and you just, everyone's. And I looked at it, and the first one, I believe, was ganbianbiando, which is like a fried green bean that the end product looks like a grasshopper form of. It was right in front of me. The smell. I was hungry, but this concerned me. This was my first thought. I got to China. I'm on the ERAP team. Yes, I made it. I'm going to starve this year. I don't like any of this. I don't eat a lot of different things. So when they brought out numerous dishes, we'd been there a good while, pushing towards an hour, and I'm waiting for the rice to come, which is last. They didn't tell me this. And we're waiting, and meanwhile, everybody's partaking, pulling out of this dish, that dish, and just, going to town. And Jeff, he had been in China previous to that year, so he was quite skilled already with his chopstick abilities, and others who were trying these dishes also began to increase their skill. You improve. The hunger teaches you to get it to your mouth. You learn fast with that motivation. So they became very, very skilled chopstick users right away. I am still holding them, waiting. Is there something going to come out that I can eat? Please, I'm hungry. And sure enough, the plate of the sweet and sour chicken came out, and I was so excited. It was right in the middle, and I'm fumbling the hunger and the nervousness. I don't know, I saw it there. And people were attacking it like vultures. I mean, we're in a circle, and there's only so many pieces, and finally I was able to hold them and extend, and by this time there was one piece left sitting in the middle. Yes, it's mine, I can eat something. I grabbed it and was balancing it in the air, about to go in, and Jeff swooped in at the last second. He sure did. He probably didn't realize I hadn't eaten anything yet that night. So, the food. Now, I can tell you, if I survived 2 years in China with my extremely slim diet options, then you too can survive. Don't worry. It is possible. There's a way. Just talk to me later. I'll give you some recipes, tell you where to go. Okay? That's the food. My name is Jenny Mass, and I'm so excited to speak here today. I've looked forward to this. Pastor Emma told me, hey, we want you to come back and speak about China. I said, yes. Great. There's so many stories. I really don't know where to go with it all. I'm keeping an eye on the clock, so you can get to class on time. He's going to give me the signal when I get too far. I wanted to share a passage out of Psalms. If you can quickly turn, that's fine. If not, I'll read from Psalm 40. I want to share these verses with you simply because it's not like they're my life verses. It's not like they represent some kind of deeper meaning that you haven't discovered yet. It's that it shares my heart of when I went to China and thus the struggle I had of being in China, a country that's closed, and you have to be careful. And there's a lot about being careful that you wouldn't realize. And some of those stories I'd like to share. If you're there, I'll be reading from verses 8 through 10. It says, I desire to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I proclaim righteousness in the great assembly. I do not seal my lips, as you know, O Lord. I do not hide your righteousness in my heart. I speak of your faithfulness and salvation. I do not conceal your love and truth from the great assembly. Before China, during China, even now, this is how I feel. I want to share. I'm very vocal, and I just, it's that energy, and it's channeled, and it's out there. And this was Diane's fear. She is our team leader and in charge of the teachers and what takes place. And she had told us, you need to be careful. You know, you're in China, and the government and the policies and the laws, and Jenny, you need to be careful. And this was my new task of containing it, because it's hard for me, and I hope that it's hard for you. And honestly, in the first 3 weeks that I was there, I struggled so much, but when I realized, oh my word, I'm struggling with this, I was glad. I was glad that I struggled. Why? Because, ask yourself, if you had to live your life not saying anything or doing anything publicly that had anything to do with Christ at all whatsoever, as if you weren't having a personal relationship with him, you weren't associated with him at all, if you had to remove that from your public life, not privately, would there be a difference? How much would your life change? Would you miss something? Would you find yourself, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I said that again. And I found myself beating myself up. Yeah, oh, I can't say that. I can't say that on the phone. I can't say that in the email. I mean, it was to the point where I'd get back from class, and I lived on the 4th story. So there were 4 flights of stairs every day. You can ask Kelly. She lives in my room that I lived in after Kelsey lived there. There's 3 generations of people in the same room. It's great. And the 4 stories are still there that I'm aware of. There's no elevator? Okay, that's it. I was going to say. I had stairs. So I come back from class. I was so excited, and just things had gone great in class, and God was working as he did every day and all the time, whether I realized or not. And I was bounding up this flight of stairs, and out of my sheer habit from being here for 4 years, being a Christian for the most part of my life, and being excited about the things that God was doing, and I just, oh, this was so great in class, and and as soon as I got to the top, Diane was right there. Praise who? Praise who? She said that just really fast, and you, praise for being right there to stop me, because that was loud, and the maids were right there, and they're secret spies, we know it. Which, you know, and I still wonder about that. I need to talk to Kelly later. There are maids, and, well, I mean, that's what we call them. They would come in and arrange things and clean by spreading water around, and they really would. The shower had, you know, a removable handle, so that they would come in and turn on the water and just spray the whole room, and it would be wet, and then they would leave. And so you try to get everything done before the wet down every morning, and they'd come in, and it's just, I mean, these are just little things. This was a day-to-day thing. I'm telling you, if you sign up to go, you'll have to deal with something like this, so I'll just share. You're in your room. It's your room, your home. How interesting it is to have 2 or 3 individuals who don't speak your language at all whatsoever, and, you know, you're attempting theirs, and they will come in every day and do things, and it's that awkward, you just kind of look and smile, because smiling is not against the law. And you can do that, and that's one of the best ways of sharing Christ, I found. I'll tell you more about that later. So the maids, they'll come in, and you want to say things, but they're trying to tell you things in Chinese. It doesn't. I always felt, though, you know, I'm going to see these people every day. These are the people that are going to see my life, and I can impact them, because I'll see them every day. So, you know, I'll make sure my room is in order and in neat, and that I'm always in a pleasant spirit when they come in, and greet them, maybe even play some Christian music in the background, just, you know, subtle, exposing them to it. Not that they knew the words, I'm sure, but they are funny like that, and they would drag this mop all over the carpet and the floor that they had dragged in and out of every bathroom without cleaning chemicals. It may have changed since SARS. It hasn't. Oh. Okay, so, well, I hope so. But they're funny, and I did, after 2 years, begin to establish a relationship with these people. The occasional things would go wrong, and my second Chinese word was huaila, which is broken. And so in the room, the light doesn't, and the air, and the heat, and things that just would not function, and she'd come in, huaila, and huaila. broken? And I'd just be pointing, moving around. And it was interesting how they responded to my needs and tried to take care of us as foreign experts. I remember the first year, there was some law that the heat could not be turned on until December 1st. Maybe it might have been later. It got very cold around September, October, really cold. And I didn't know how to express this to the ladies. They would come in sometimes after I left to go teaching. And I had 2 small stuffed animals I'd brought from home, and they would be on my bed. And so I finally decided, the language isn't happening, they don't understand. And I took my extra hat, gloves, and scarves, and I bundled the small animals. They are cold. I too, I'm cold, please. And I, put the blanket over them and show them, see how the animal's freezing. Can we do something about the heat, please? It took a little bit for them. There was an incident the second year, Kelsey's aware. The bathroom door knob fell off on the inside. And that is a problem. We were having a team meeting one night, and Kelsey had gone in there for just a little bit. And we had started the meeting, and I had forgotten something in my room. Thankfully, went back and found her. Hey, there's no handle, can't get out. Kind of trapped in my bathroom. For weeks upon end, I would ask the people, please show them the broken Huayla door, anything, weeks upon end. And nobody came. And finally one morning they were in there, and I thought, okay, this is a problem, because you can't really shut the door if you can't get out, and then you want to shut the door when you're using the bathroom. So the lady went in there to clean. And I said, I'm just gonna close this. And I walked away for just a couple minutes to let it sink in, make sure she had time to finish cleaning, and then there was just this random pounding and confusion. And then suddenly a lot of Chinese very loudly, I'm sorry. I said, see how the door's broken? You wanted to get out. Please fix it, please. I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. It was good times. That was a good day, I think. It was one of the better ones. We came to an understanding, and I was excited. They were a little more sensitive to my needs. Although their methods of fixing, we'll be honest, they're not quite at the level that we are here in America. And there was an incident with Dan Byrne. Some of you may know Dan Byrne. He was visiting and was out on my porch, and the porch has a very large, it's a large just glass window. It's like a long wall. And it stretches from your waist up to the ceiling, and it opens there. And he was going to open the window, and there's no handles, because there just aren't. And you have to just push on the glass to slide it. You have to use that kind of grip. So he does this, and Dan Byrne, if you don't know him, is a very large guy, and he's, window. And he did that, and the whole framing fell out like 3 inches. We're on the 4th floor, and it's hanging off of the wall. The frame with these huge panels of glass, and we just froze. Don't move. Step away from the glass. And it's windy, and I thought, any minute there's a gust, it's going to seep in, and there's going to be a suction, and the whole thing is going to fly out, and then I'll really be cold, because they can't fix that. So we stepped away, and I ran down the steps to the little cubicle where the lady sits, and I said, Huayla, my window, Huayla. And she's, Shema Huayla, which means what's broken? And she's asking me, I don't know. And so I just grabbed her hand, and we're running up the stairs. I need to show you. And she comes up to the room, and she runs straight out there. No, stay, it's gonna go any minute. And she just looked, and then ran back down. And it was about 2 or 3 days later, I was just studying in my room, a little knock on the door, and this guy comes in with a can of white paint. I'm not lying to you. Goes out onto the porch. They had a small they didn't have ladders. They usually stacked stools It was, again, precarious with the window hanging, and it did last that long. I was amazed. It was a miracle. I was gentle with the doors, and he literally took the paint just around the edge there, and I don't know how he brought it in, or he just sealed up the hole. I said, that's good. That's going to last through the spring sandstorms. This is going to be great. So all this to say that China is great. I mean, it's a great experience. It's full of, you're never bored. And never would you go out without incident. Am I right? I mean, and it's partially, we refer to it as the China factor. You have to factor in an unknown. If it was like X, factor in X, and you never really can tell how great or small X will be in one day. And it leads to a lot of things, and really depending on the Lord. And a lot of that, like I said, being careful. I mean, it was hard for me, and Diane helped me through it all. But through that, you had to find strategies to reach out, because you are there to reach out. And despite how much they say, you gotta keep it under wraps, you gotta be careful, you gotta wait for them to ask, you gotta channel it, and I said, okay, I gotta channel. And when I'd go out on the streets and just be swarmed by all these Chinese people, and I'd be like, they're all lost, most likely. I mean, I don't know souls. And I would just kill them with smiles. Yes, this I can do, and I am happy, and there's a reason, and I can smile at you, and it just, I mean, day after day, to look into the eyes that have no hope. I mean, their eyes are all genetically dark anyhow, and it's almost as if there's a chasm, and they just don't know. I mean, for them to be happy, they would have a very simple reason. We're getting together for food. We're happy. Eating in China is a very important thing to them, and that's something that makes them happy. We have every reason in the world to be ecstatic at all times. And yet here we are. And sometimes, we have bad days when these things happen. And, well, and this did. And going to, I mean, they say you go to China, you go on any missions trip, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. You'll be different. It'll change your life. And it's true. I mean, you don't look at anything the same ever again. And it really is just an experience that puts so much into perspective for you. What actually is important. And when I realized restraining the things about my life that I find most important, my testimony and seeing God's work be done, and to not be able to go out and share that. I mean, when I was on the plane home, I wasn't sure if I could share there, and even now I still get that scared feeling. Diane's going to hear it. I'm going to be in trouble. I've said all too much. It's just, you guys have that opportunity. You're here, and it's almost as if each of you are holding a flashlight, and you are a light. I mean, we've got a couple lights in this room. The room is fairly well lit, but if each of you had one, the room would be so much brighter. And it would be as if the DMC was just this glowing orb of, just the bubbles, the glowing bubble. And I mean, we should be. We're all, I mean, this much light condensed together right here, and it's like a huge, powerful hand of God, if you allow it to be. But don't keep it here. I mean, there's so much space in China for it to go to. And I know you're like, well, I got to finish my degree, and maybe I won't go, and the program's limited, and all of this. But I'm not just talking about China. I'm talking about the people that are working at Super Value, okay? And every time I go in there, I don't know why, I look at that person, I think, has anybody shared with this person? They live right across the street. Do they know what Cedarville's about? Maybe not. People live in the village, but I mean, there are people right here. You go to the Walmart, you go anywhere, and you're taking that flashlight with you. Now, it's so amazing to be in a place that loves God and is pushing forward towards that movement. When ago when I was able to visit on break. It was actually during my first year, so 2 years ago. I was here at Cedarville for an SGA chapel, and everybody began to sing. I don't even know what song it was. I just remember it was so loud, and I had this combined feeling of cringing and being excited out of my skin because I had never heard so many people sing that loud and be excited about Christ in so long. And I just cried. And you don't realize what you have here. And maybe you won't realize it when you leave and when chapel ends. But try to realize it. And whatever you do, don't finish your time here with your flashlight off. Because if your flashlight's off, maybe we can't tell in this room where the whole place is lit up. Well, I don't need to turn my flashlight on. Everybody can see fine. I don't need to. I mean, I've got chapel every day and Bible classes and great churches and ministry opportunities and open airs opportunities, all these experiences at my fingertips. But I don't really need to engage in that. That's not, I'm doing fine. I'm coasting. Then you walk out of here and you just crash spiritually. These things, that can happen in China. You don't have to be somewhere and have that place be your spirituality. So my encouragement is twofold. Keep your flashlight on here because it makes a difference. And this is where you need to absorb everything now in this time to prepare you for things like China and whatever else God has for you in any place that you share. But even while you're here, take that light out. Those of you that know me, I'm a fan of open airs. And if you sign up for China, you need to be doing open airs. Don't think you're going to go to China and get a chance to witness to somebody if you can't go next door and tell somebody your faith or why you are a Christian. Don't do that. And I'm sure that Pastor Rome mentioned the Dayton Chinese Church because it's China Chapel and Chinese New Year. There's a need there? That blows me away. How many people am I looking at? If you can speak English, raise your hand. Everybody could raise their hand. If you can speak slowly, that's all it takes, really. And if you can speak slowly for a long period of time and not go crazy, even better. I can't believe that. And I heard how excited you guys were getting about the China program and going to sign up and wanting to, plan for after graduation and being on the team. If you're going that far, the best way to prepare is get to this church. Get to know Chinese, feel their heart, get to know them where they're at. Start to understand. Because there's billions of people over there that need to see your light. But you need to shine it here first. And on Friday nights, it would be such a neat picture if you just visualize the campus dispersing to Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton, and Clifton, and taking those lights and watching this glowing orb just scatter into a big field that just glowed. Because that's what people are going to see. So China is awesome, and God has that in the plan for some of you, but not all of you. But the rest of you have a plan, and God has a purpose for all that you're doing and the major that you're in, and even while you're here. It's not like you're in this holding pattern and then you start life. You guys are there right now. Some of you out there on SGA or your campus board leaders and all of this, or you lead ministry teams, or even you're the RAs, and you have that opportunity to be that much brighter for those people that you're in charge of. It's like the talents. God's given you that small responsibility. Make the most of it, even if it's one. When I started helping out with open airs, we had a handful on the team. It didn't matter. We were going to get together on Friday, and we were going to pray that God would save and that He would bring people to work. And that was at the beginning of my 4-year experience with open airs, and God blessed it so much. So the time is now. It's not sign up for China then. You guys are already at your China. And there are people here that need, and it's not just the people who have never heard. It's the person living in the room next to you that needs to be encouraged. And maybe you're thinking, okay, I know I should witness. I should sign up for a ministry, and I'm supposed to do those things, and I'm a Christian. I put in my church time and my chapel and all that. But if it's a regulation, then take a self-check. What I find is the best thing about evangelizing is that it reminds me why I'm excited to be a Christian. That's all you need to share. I'm not saying you got to memorize the Romans Road and all kinds of outlines and verses. If you know why you follow Christ, and that's exciting to you, and it should be, I hope. I mean, if it's not, then I don't know why you're wasting your time, because, we're held to a much higher standard. Ask yourself. I know I'm going over time. There's one letter I wanted to read. Kelly and I talked about this. This was a student I had in my second year, and Kelly's been able to teach her this year. And she was able, well, I'll just read the letter to you. And then I'll be done. This no better expresses the heart of any of the Chinese that I've met than what she says here. So I want you to listen as if she's talking to you and it's personal. She says, "Dear Miss Mass, this is greetings from China. This is Chanel. How are you doing these days? It's a really long time since you had left. I'm always thinking about you. I miss you very much. Can you believe it? I became a Christian. It must be the greatest news I can ever tell. It was the 25th of December in Miss Lichtensteiger's room. I confessed my sin and I asked God for salvation. I was a little bit nervous at that time, but I knew God heard me. I told Miss Redinger that night, and she was very, very happy. She gave me a big hug. We were too happy to say anything. Miss Lee gave me a hug, and she gave me great support. And we set up a time to talk about Bible every week. She's very respectful. I like her personality a lot. I told Miss Lee that I would like to be a woman like her, a woman of integrity and honor. And she said then that God could give me the chance to be like her, basically to follow Christ. I felt great to be a Christian. I'd been interested in Christianity for a long time. I had the desire to know God, but I never had a clear idea to be a Christian until I met you. I began to read Bible when you were in China. I knew some from you. You gave me the first impression of what a Christian was like, and showed me how great it was to be a Christian. I thought I would like to live in this way, and then I did. After I knew Miss Lee, I really had a lot of chances to know about him. I began to understand, to reevaluate everything around me. I'd been taught to be a communist, and I used to believe it. But God loved me so much that he sent you to me to tell me the truth of the world. I experienced the struggle between what I've been taught and the truth. And finally, with the help of you, Miss Lichtensteiger, Miss Crawford, Miss Redinger, Mr. Shiflett, and Mr. Storer, I can see clearly what the truth is. God gave me the desire to know him, and he gave me the faith to be steadfast. How stupid I was for not knowing his glory was shining all the time. How pitiful I was for not receiving his free gift before. I lived in sins for so long a time, and then I began to know him. I'm lucky, for he loved me all the time. I experienced the most joyful of days, so I thank you. Thank you for giving me the first impression of a nice Christian. I like you a lot, and at last I found we are sisters in Christ. I know you'll be happy to hear this. It was the most important decision I have ever made. It changed me every day, and I know it will continue to change me. I'd never experienced this kind of happiness. Now I got it. I went to church every Sunday, and I joined the choir. I sing in 2 services every week, and I listen carefully to whatever they say about the Bible. I took a class in that church, and I enjoy it. They told me, hopefully I'll be baptized next Christmas. I am so excited. I pray for every one of you every day. My prayer was both in Chinese and English. I will keep praying in English, for I want to remember every foreign teacher. I will never, never forget you for letting me to know God. I will always pray for you. Thank you so much. Pastor.